Woosa. Let's get it going.
And the White Sox are getting ready for a big series against the Guardians. After getting swept by the Tigers, the Cubs split their series against the Rockies. A big surprise news coming in the world of college hoops and NBA with the draft coming up tomorrow. And we got a double dose of old school TV Monday. We got Wyndham Clark wins his second U.S. Open in 3 years, and so much more. A busy weekend. We got a busy show coming up here. Second City Sports starts right now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, dragged into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong.
Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fake on the drive.
They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to another Monday extravagance edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here over here. You know that it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter X in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter X, again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're watching us live in living color on YouTube, if you can, after you like the video, please hype the video so we can get this out to as many of you dedicated listeners and fans as we possibly can, so we can make it your number one destination for Chicago and national sports talk. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
If we are unapologetically fun and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions due not to our extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll it or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to Bill and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live gainers, L-I-V-E, live entertainment gainers. Checking us out live and in living color right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay gainers checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto when we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We provide you some of the best Second City Sports as we got a busy show for you coming up here. Wyndham Clark wins his second U.S. Open in 3 years. We get a championship here in Chicago via rugby. We'll talk about that. Dusty May, bolts Michigan and goes to the NBA. We'll show you where he's going. Is Giannis going to get traded? What will the Bulls do in tomorrow night's NBA draft? Also, we got a double dose of old school TV Monday, as we'll salute one of the all-time great TV directors and showrunners and an underrated Chicago-based sitcom. The Bears will now know, and the rest of the league will now know when they'll be starting training camps coming up later next month. and so much more. Like I said, we got a busy show coming up, so let's get right to it and talk some baseball as the White Sox get swept by the Tigers. And, well, okay, let's start with this one because, well, the good news is that they do get Kyle Teal back. He just got called back up. So that's going to help them and whatnot. But they did get swept by the Tigers. They probably should have won that game yesterday. They were up. Unfortunately, the bullpen just didn't have it this whole series and such. So now they're a game back against Cleveland, who they will face starting tomorrow. And the only reason why they're tonight, I should say, the only reason why they're even still within a game is because the Guardians have been without Jose Ramirez. He's going to miss this series. So it's a good chance for the White Sox to take advantage of this opportunity. But I have my sort of theories and such, yes, of why is this team really a contender or not. But even first, so Sid, what do you think about that series against the Tigers over the weekend?
Tariq Skubal, who backed up his words last Friday in this series opener, even get into Mike Vassell, the injured relief pitcher for the White Sox. He told some of his teammates and some of the Detroit media who were actually listening that the Tigers need to get going. As we talked about on this show all year, that the Tigers were picked by many people, including the two of us, to win the AL Central. As of right now, it looks like that's not going to happen. But Tariq Skubal's words were backed up by his actions and his actions of his teammates. They outplayed the White Sox. They outhit, they outpitched them, and they hit and they outperformed the Sox in clutch situations, i.e., the example of yesterday. So the Tigers did what they had to do. The White Sox, for the first time in a while, they are facing adversity on what this team actually is and where they could go. Now, a couple of issues that I will have to bring up now, and sorry for this long monologue, but Davis Martin, 2 out of his last 3 starts, has been disappointing. But yesterday, he showed up and showed out. He deserved a better fate. Will Venable, who I blame for this loss yesterday, yes, the players ultimately get the most of the blame, but Will Venable, the White Sox manager, why didn't you put Davis Martin out there for the 8th inning? He only had 77 pitches. He could have gone at least another inning. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, you put Grant Taylor in the 8th inning instead of the 9th. And number 3, you put in Sir Anthony Dominguez in the 9th inning instead of using him for quote-unquote mop-up duty. Those 3 crucial mistakes right there by your second-year manager, in which the snowball effect occurred afterwards, one of the reasons why the White Sox lost that game. LaKeena, as I said before, and I'll say it again, do I like this story about the Chicago White Sox? Yes. Did I have them in the playoffs, locked and sealed, signed, sealed, delivered? No. Did I have them signed, sealed, delivered on winning this division? No. Do they still have a chance? Technically, yes, but these are the signs of a young team and still young managers still trying to learn on the job. They learned their lesson. Well, they learned their lesson big time yesterday. They paid for it with a heavy price tag by ending this road trip with an ugly 10 extra inning loss.
Yeah, I'll get to the rest of the division in a second because I think Detroit is still in it. I know I heard Mully and Hall with our good friend David Hall, of course, friend of the show, saying that I know Hall saying that Mully said that they don't think the Tigers. He does think the Tigers have a shot. I know there's 7.5 back, but look, we're not in the All-Star break yet. There's only been about 76, 77 games played. They got a shot. And I'm saying this because no one's going to run away, whether it's the Guardians or the White Sox, whoever wins that series starting tonight. No one's going to run away with that division. I think if Detroit does what they're supposed to, what they've been doing these last few weeks, now that Skubal's back, that gives them, a couple other guys coming back. So that'll help them a little bit. And I think our buddy Sean M. David, they said it best. This team was not built to go the distance. It wasn't. The pitching especially. Davis Martin did rebound from a last couple of bad starts. He had a nice start yesterday, but unfortunately the bullpen kind of killed him there. And also Dylan Dingler, who had a great series, he's been hitting the ball very well as of late. Melton had a no hitter going into Troy Melton had a no hitter going into the 5th. So look, the Detroit's been playing very well. Now the White Sox, I think they're getting a reality check now. They lost the series against the Yankees. They got swept in Detroit. I think they're kind of like I know that people wanted the nation to start noticing that. Well, you're getting noticed, and now you're gonna get your best shot by everybody, including people in your own division. Now this is gonna be a big test for them starting today. Now the good news is it looks like Jose Ramirez will miss this series for the Guardians, so that should help them a little bit. in that respect. But Cleveland's been kind of up and down because of that. So the White Sox should be able to take advantage of that. Here's your starting pitches for this one. We got Anthony Kay against Gavin Williams, who's 9-4, who is right up there with Davis Martin for AL Cy Young. You got Sean Burke against Parker Messick, another really solid pitcher for the Guardians. And, of course, Eric Fetty in the rubber match. He'll go up against Tanner Bibby. So, so I think that's, look, if you can win this series, look, you're going to be up against two of their top pitchers. This is going to be a very tough series for the White Sox. And so we'll see what this team is made of. What we saw in the last couple of series, they failed. So this is now a chance to go up against one of your main rivals in that division and see if they can perhaps maybe make some inroads.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports All Chicago City. LaKeena kicking it here with you on this Monday extravaganza edition, discussing the Chicago White Sox 2 games over 500, 39-37, 1 game back of the Cleveland Guardians in the all-forgiving AL Central, as our good friend Nick Borowski would say. As LaKeena mentioned, the important 3-game series will start tonight on the South Side. I'll give you these statistics before yesterday's game to make my point. And these are the records by each AL Central Division team going in before yesterday's action. Detroit 10-6, Minnesota 10-6, Kansas City 10-6. The White Sox and Cleveland, they were both 7-9. These all records within their division in the month of June before yesterday's game. Of course, how weird is it sound that all the teams above 500 are bringing up the rear. For the month of June, they all bringing up the rear overall in the AL Central. But the White Sox and Guardians, who are the top 2 teams in this division, they have records below the 500 mark in the month of June. I said that to say this. 2 things are in the White Sox favor tonight. As you mentioned, Jose Ramirez is out for the Guardians, but the Guardians are still a good team. But number 2, the White Sox are very good at home. I believe they're 24-12 at home at Sox Park on the South Side. So they should. The confidence should return there. Of course, you're getting back Kyle Teal, but I'm focusing in on a started pitching again, LaKeena. In particular, Anthony Kay and Eric Fetty, who goes on Wednesday afternoon. Both those guys looked terrible in their last starts. In particular, Anthony Kay against the Yankees last week. He was terrible after having a good solid month of May. He's turned back the clock to being the bad Anthony Kay so far in the month of June. He has to turn it around. Eric Fetty, if it was up to me, he wouldn't be on the team right now. But since the White Sox have had injuries throughout their starting staff, that's the only reason why he's still on this team. He did do decent in his last start, but he has to show more, in my opinion. Now, I said this too to somebody on social media last night. This is an important homestand for the White Sox. 6 games, 3 against Cleveland, then 3 against Kansas City coming up to wrap it up at the end of the weekend. These 6 games are going to determine where this White Sox season goes. Now, as you mentioned, coming into the season, we didn't expect them to be contenders. Okay, but since you played so well up to this point, expectations rise. When expectations rise, we see who are you made of. And like you said, they got kicked in the teeth on his last 6-game road trip, only winning 1 game. We'll see what you're made of coming home. So we'll find out who this real White Sox team is. And these important 6 games are going to determine how this rest of the season goes.
We'll take a really quick break. Of course, we'll talk some Cubs as the Cubs split their 2-gamer. Of course, the 3rd game was rained out because of some severe storms that hit the area, excuse me, yesterday. So, they'll make that game up on August 6th. But we'll also talk about a big offensive explosion by the Phillies over the weekend, as they're kind of right there creeping up against Atlanta. A bad series for the Dodgers, but look, hey, it happens. And so much more. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More baseball talk coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch. And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch. You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops. Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this Monday extravaganza edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, on IG.
And everything else in between from Major League Baseball from this past weekend. If you have any questions or comments regarding the world of baseball, you can hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
As I said before the break, the Cubs split their two-game against Toronto. They didn't play the third game because there were some storms that hit the area up in the north side yesterday, so they postponed that game. That game will be made up on August 6th. But we saw the first two games. It was a kind of the tale of two things here, which has been the Cubs. Sort of the theme all season. 16-2 for Friday. Carson Kelly had a grand slam and a career high 6 RBIs. PCA had 3 singles and RBI, and he walked twice, extending his on-base streak to 22 games. And yeah, it was all Cubs and that one. On the flip side, though, on Saturday, well, the Cubs actually had a lead, and unfortunately, the bullpen just couldn't hold on. And yeah, that was not good. I know Vlad Guerrero Jr. I know he had an RBI. Akamoto, he had a 3-run home run. That kind of was all she wrote for that one. Unfortunately, the bullpen for the Cubs couldn't hang on. I'm talking to you, Jared Webb. I don't know why you're Jacob Webb. I should say. I don't know why you're. I don't know why you should be. You should not. Maybe you need to be sit for a little bit. But yeah, the bullpen killed. The Cubs should have won that game. So actually could have won that series. But when they play that game August 6th. But yeah, unfortunately, that was kind of the killer there. But again, the Cubs have won 6 of their last 9. So they're still within striking distance at NL Central. They do go to Citi Field to play the Mets starting tonight. We'll talk about the Mets in a second. They've had their struggles. So what do you think about that series against Toronto?
Yeah, if you're a Cubs fan like my radio partner LaKeena McGee is, you should be upset. You're up 5-0. Okay, the bullpen just got to hold it down, and because that Toronto team was down and out, and you should go away with the second win in the series. But no, as you mentioned, the bullpen collapsed right in front of you. And as we said before, we'll say it again. Of course, injuries had a lot to do with a lot of teams, including the Cubs this year. But no one's going to feel sorry for you because your key players are injured. You still got to go out there and do the job. Now, the offense for the Chicago Cubs during this recent stretch, they have done the job, like Pete Crow Armstrong, Alex Bregman, even though he was 1 for 4 last Saturday. Slowly, he looks like he's starting to come out of it a little bit. Seiya Suzuki is swinging a hot stick. And Dansby Swanson, quietly, LaKeena, shh, don't tell anybody, but he went 2 for 3 on Saturday. He still has a long way to go to get that season batting average above 200, but he's quietly has turned it around. So I'm not worried about this Cubs offense. I'm worried about their starting pitching. And the reason why I'm saying is because of Edward Cabrera is out. Matthew Boyd is still returning. We're still waiting on when he's going to return. You asking these 3 starters to carry you starting pitching wise that have done the job, but sometimes they're going to break too, which has suffered. Their bullpen has suffered all year long. These 3 guys, Ben Brown, who's been your EVP, and from being a reliever to a starter, Colin Ray, who started last Saturday, who deserved a better fate, and Javier Assad. Those 3 guys that carry in your starting rotation right now, with Shota Imanaga being a question mark, who starts tonight, by the way. But those 3 guys I just mentioned, they have carrying your starting staff, which in part is making your bullpen suffer. Those are 3 main components that will help your bullpen right now. But since those 3 guys are being used as your starters, they had to be contributing into other areas. My point is this. I know, well, they got to go make a deal to get a veteran starter, a veteran reliever. Okay, everybody's looking for that. It's not just going to come to you falling from a tree as we head towards late June. The Cubs just got to get some capable arms in there. They got to trust the people who's on their roster right now to do the job and do the job consistently. Because as we said before, the offense is going to be there. It's the starting pitching is, most importantly, the bullpen is going to keep your season intact.
Yeah, and some good news here. It looks like Justin Steele could be back August 1st, but you need to, in the meantime, between time, you gotta get guys. The guys like Ben Brown needs to continue to step up. Cabrera, Assad's been very solid. He actually starts on Wednesday in this 4-gamer against the Mets over in Queens. So I think if you're the Cubs, you need to get your bullpen, your middle relief, and your bullpen really need to get it going here. So Colin Ray did deserve better. He had a solid start. Only gave up 2 hits, and just he should have won that. That should have been a win for the Cubs. But again, this has been the theme all season long with that bullpen. Mm-hmm. So now going into this series, this 4-game against the Mets, Shota, as it says, Shota goes up against Kodai Senga. Also, you got Cabrera up against McLean. This is tomorrow. Noah McLean. That's for tomorrow. Game 3, you got Javier Assad versus Sean Manaea. And, of course, wrapping up the series, of course, no starter has been official yet, but Freddie Peralta, who loves playing the Cubs, apparently. So, we'll see. Hopefully, if you're the Cubs, if you can win 3 out of 4 against the Mets, I mean, you hope that could be sort of a thing before, because you have a big series coming up against the Brewers. We'll talk about them in a second. But if you can get 3 out of 4 against the Mets and gain a game or 2 as you face the Brewers up in Milwaukee coming up on Friday, you should be in good shape. But you just got to take it one series at a time. Don't get caught looking ahead.
Yeah, you just made my point there. Just take care of your business. Go out and do the job. Excuse me. And go out there and do the job. Make your pitches count. Make sure you play smart offensively, and hopefully their bullpen turns around, because that Mets offense, LaKeena, they have not been great. And we'll talk about their series against the Philadelphia Phillies in just a second. But that Mets team is down and out right now. They're waiting for someone to officially give them the knockout punch. So if you're the Cubs, you just go into the Big Apple, worry about your business, play Cubs baseball. You should take, like you said, at least 3 out of 4. But I think realistically, I think they're going to take just 2 games and split that series. That just means the way they've been playing lately. But like I said, 3 out of 4 should be the goal. But I think they'll take 2 out of 2.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago. LaKeena McGee sitting around with you as we talk. Let's talk about that Mets series against the Phillies, and they did win the first game against the Phillies, but yeah, it was all Phillies after that one. Especially if you watch Saturday's game, where something that has not happened in MLB history took place on Saturday. Bryce Harper hit for the cycle. 2 home runs were hit. A 3-run home run for Schwarber. Also another 2-1 home run for Schwarber. You had a walk-off for all the for and all that, and also for the for the Phillies. They just he hit for they're actually the first time that that a he had a triple short for the cycle. The last time he almost had the cycle, but that's the first time that's happened that someone has hit multiple home runs as well as a person for the cycle in the same game. It was all Phillies in that one. And of course, on yesterday, the Phillies beat the Mets to finish up and win that series. Another home run for Schwarber and another homer for Harper. So the Phillies, they're starting to get it going. The Mets, look, if you're the Cubs, you got the Mets at a good time, and this is why. So yeah, this is just insane what the Phillies have been doing. They're now 6-6.5 back in the NL East.
Yeah, for the Phillies, let's give a shout out to Zach Wheeler. We talked about their starting pitching being the forefront that needs to support that offense all year. You talk about Christopher Sanchez; he's a top, the strong young left-hander. He's a top 2 candidate in my opinion, next to Jacob Mizorowski from Milwaukee as far as NL Cy Young is concerned. But let's give credit to this pitcher should have been with the White Sox instead of Lance Lynn in 2020. But I digress. And Zach Wheeler. He did this thing last night on national stage. 7 strikeouts to 3 walks in 5 2/3 innings. Only gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs against that ugly lineup for the Mets. He's a veteran leader of this starting staff. I know Aaron Nolan's been up and down lately. Painter has stunk it up in that rotation for Philadelphia. But Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler, who, as I mentioned, who pitched stellar last night. These are the 2 guys that has this Philadelphia Phillies rotation. You mentioned about the names on offense. We talk about all the time, so we won't mention it here. But Philadelphia has really turned it around. As I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not going to sit here and say they'll catch Atlanta. It's not impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely because that bad start they got off to start the year before firing now former manager Robbie Thompson. But this Phillies team can be good, and I think they're the lead in the clubhouse for that first wild card spot in the National League. So if Philadelphia can add a piece or two, especially in their bullpen by the trade deadline, I think they're really going to be dangerous. I think they can give Atlanta a scare.
Yeah, and look, speaking of Atlanta, well, yeah, the bullpen has really been an issue. We saw that against the White Sox, but yeah. As far as Atlanta, the reason why they're only 6.5 back is because Atlanta did win 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. They lost the rubber match. They didn't get the sweep, but look, Albies hit a walk off to get that one series on that one game in a series on Saturday, and we'll talk some more about that because other stuff happened as well on Saturday besides what the Phillies did and what Albies just did, but. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting to see if Atlanta, I know Acuna is hurt right now, so I think that's really the kind of thing where the Phillies were able to kind of catch up a little bit. But I think Atlanta could still win a division. But like I said, I think the fact that, the Phillies are starting to get it going and Wheeler and the pitching's been really good. I think that, look, Atlanta can still do their thing, but I feel like they're not going to run away with that division. I just don't see it. I think Atlanta will still win, but it's not going to be a runaway like we've been saying.
You're probably right as of right now because of the injury to Ronald Acuna Jr. Of course, he injured his hamstring a couple of weeks ago here in Chicago against the White Sox. But they still have a stacked lineup with Drake Baldwin, the defending NL Rookie of the Year that started catch, of course, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and Michael Harris, who's having a nice year in clutch hitting. They still have a dangerous lineup, and they're one of the few teams that defeated Jacob Mizorowski, which they did last Friday in that series opener against Milwaukee. So there are only a couple of teams that can say that they beat the Miz straight on. And of course, my guy Ozzie Oblis, you just mentioned with that walk-off last Saturday night. So Atlanta's still a good team. They're going through a little bit of a tough stretch, even though they did end up taking 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. But as we mentioned, they need Ronald Acuna Jr. back healthy for them to really take off. They're still a good ball club in the short term, but in the long term, they're going to need Ronald Acuna Jr. Just look at the last couple of years. He's missed a lot of time. That Braves team struggled big time. I know Braves fans don't want me to say this, but look at what happened last year. It was ugly.
Very ugly, yeah. So we'll see how Atlanta does in the next couple of weeks here. Now, the Marlins, I know they've won 4 in a row, sweeping the Giants. I don't know if they're for real or not, but we'll see. The Nationals, they lost 2 out of 3 to Tampa. So again, they're starting to kind of fall back to earth a little bit. Too now in the Central, St. Louis. Look, we'll start with the Brewers. The Brewers lose 2 out of 3 to Atlanta. In Atlanta, like I said, I don't think they're going to run away with the NL Central. I just don't see it. St. Louis, don't know if they're for real or not. I would say, look, talk to me, in about a couple of weeks. They're still in striking distance in that Central NL Central division. The Pirates, very disappointing. They lose 2 out of 3 at Coors Field. So just we thought that maybe they could probably compete for the wild card spots. They just showed you why that might not be the case. So I don't know what's going to happen in that Central.
Let me focus in on St. Louis here for just a second. I did watch some of that series against Kansas City. Now, they did what they had to do to win that series, the Show Me series, or the rematch of '85 World Series, however you look at it, against the Kansas City Royals. So Jordan Walker quietly has 18 home runs. It looks like he may have 20 by the All-Star break. Remember, we were throwing him in the trash last year because he was very disappointing. Part of it is due to injuries and inconsistencies, but this year he has turned it around. JJ Weatherholt, he's having a tremendous year. He had a couple of home runs yesterday in this series finale win. Ivan Herrera, he leads all of baseball in hit by pitches next to Sam Antonacci of the Chicago White Sox. He had a big day yesterday in the series finale as well. So St. Louis, again, big contributions from their young guys. And don't forget about Mason Wynn with that glove over there at shortstop as well. So St. Louis, I think they're going to remain in this thing for a while, but like you said, we'll see by the trade deadline. But so far, they really have hung on and played some really good baseball.
Yeah, they really have. So you definitely got to commend them for that. Like I said, can they keep it up, though? I think that's the question now. As far as the West are concerned, look, okay, Dodgers fans, look, I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. But you're still 9 games up in the West because everybody else has not played well in recent weeks. The Padres lose 2 out of 3 in Arlington against Texas. We talked about the Giants getting swept. The D-backs lost 2 out of 3 to Minnesota at home. So, folks, relax, Dodgers fans. There's going to be those knucklehead Dodgers fans. They're like, oh, I want to stop. Okay, thank you.
As I said last week, I told somebody this: the Dodgers can lose 10 out of the next 15 games, and they can still win this division. You want to know why? You just said it, because the rest of the teams that within that division, with the exception of Colorado, they stumble over themselves. So you just mentioned it. The rest of the division stumbled over themselves over the weekend. So if you're a Dodgers fan, yes, it's disappointing, but this series is not going to mean anything down the road. The Dodgers are still a superior team. Look at Ohtani. Look at Freddie Freeman. Look at Mookie Betts. And those veteran players know what to do in clutch situations. Look at Andy Pius, a center fielder, who's having an all-star year, in my opinion. I voted him for the all-star game in my ballot yesterday, by the way. Neither here or there. But, the Dodgers have those players that have been there before with the experience. And manager Dave Roberts knows what buttons to push. So the Dodgers are fine. It's more about the long haul, not about the short term. It's all about the long-term success of the team, not the short term. Now, I do want to ask you this question, LaKeena. Did you check out the highlights of the Giants-Marlins series from yesterday? Mm-hmm. The series finale from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Rafael Devers has had a big black cloud, no pun intended, over his head throughout his career for at least the last 2 or 3 years. We all know what happened in Boston. That's why he was traded to San Francisco around this time last year. Yesterday, he got on base, I believe, with a base hit, but a pinch runner by the rookie manager of the Giants, the pinch runner was set to check in, but Rafael Devers shook his finger like he was the late great Kim Matoma, said, "No, you go back to the bench, young man." The umpire said it's a legal substitution. Rafael Devers, go sit your ass on the bench. Of course, when Rafi got in the dugout, had every last passive-aggressive word to say to that rookie manager, and he was not happy. LaKeena, I know the Giants are they finished last year at 81-81. They're having a disappointing year so far. If you're the Giants, call me. You know me, I don't do hot takes on the show, but call me crazy, stupid. But you got to find a way to sit Rafael Devers for at least a game or two, and/or you got to find a way to trade him, because this transition that the Giants they are going through, and it looks like they're going to continue to go through, especially if you believe the reports they're going to trade a couple of their key veterans to possible playoff contenders. This stuff cannot happen in the clubhouse, especially with the rookie manager.
Yeah, Tony Vitello, I think, yeah, I'm sure he was shocked because he didn't have to deal with that when he was over at the University of Tennessee. But yeah, Buster Posey, of course, who's a former Giant, won a couple World Series. So he's the president of the baseball ops there. He was just hired. Yeah, he was just hired last year, but a couple years ago, I should say. But yeah, I mean, if you're Posey, I think you probably are going to be fielding calls. But the problem is that you're not going to get a lot of takers. You're not going to get like a top prospect for Devers. You just aren't going to do it. So you may have to, either DFA him or maybe even release him, perhaps, so you can kind of save face. But yeah, I saw that was just like totally uncalled for, and I felt like it was just like he was trying to push some buttons over there. And knowing that Vitello wasn't probably going to do anything to him, that's why he did what he did yesterday, talking about Devers. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. But yeah, I think he just officially punched his ticket at San Francisco. Talk about Devers, I mean.
Yep, and like I said, it's not a good situation in San Francisco right now, so we'll see what happens between now and the trade deadline. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago. Sid, LaKeena here with you, talking Cubs, White Sox, and the rest of Major League Baseball for this past weekend. Let's move over to the American League West. The Anaheim Angels took the 2 of the 4 games from the Oakland A's of Sacramento over the weekend. LaKeena, did you check out this highlight from Oakland? That's what I said. Oakland A's right fielder Kobe Thomas, he runs over a home run in the first inning, turning his back to the warning track, snagged the ball out the air, crashed it to the wall, held on and made the catch, did not fall in the bullpen. It was an incredible catch, taking away a home run from Joe Adele. Of course, the Anaheim Angels, now they're going to play without Mike Trout for the foreseeable future. They take the series finale 9-7 to take 2 out of 4 from the A's. But that was an incredible catch by Kobe Thomas out there in right field. But as we talked about with this AL West division, LaKeena, Seattle, we'll get to them in just a second. You mentioned about Texas finally win the series at home against a overachieving, underrated Padres team. We'll talk about, the Houston Astros took care of the Guardians. Thank you from this White Sox fan to the Astros. But we've been saying that for the last few weeks. Whichever team gets hot, with the exception of the Angels, of course, but whichever team gets hot for a 2 or 3 week stretch, I think there's going to be team is going to win this American League Western Division.
Yeah, disappointing though for Seattle losing 2 out of 3 at home to Boston. But yeah, I think the rest of that division, no one's going to run away with that division. I think that was I saw that catch by Thomas yesterday. I was surprised he didn't hurt himself, but he held on to the ball. But yeah, I'm sure he felt that this morning when he woke up. He woke up a little sore there. But yeah, like I said, nobody's going to run away with that division. So I think the exception of the Angels, all 4 of the other 4 teams, your Seattle, the A's, Texas, and Houston. Houston, I don't know if Houston will be there. They've got too many injuries, but we'll see. But yeah, a lot is going to be going to happen in that division. Like we've been saying for the last month or so. Someone just has to have a good next 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said, I think look, Seattle, again, disappointing, but again, you kind of take solace in the fact that everyone else, for the most part, except Texas and Houston, but everybody else, the A's lost, the disappointing series. So yeah, we'll see. Talk to me by July 4th, and we'll see where these teams are by then.
Going back to the National League, let's take a trip over to the Central Division. Shout out to the Cincinnati Reds. They take 2 out of 3 in the Bronx, defeating the Yankees 10-2 on Saturday, 4-1 yesterday. Chase Burns, your starting pitcher for the Reds, was outstanding, pitching 5 strong innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks to 7 strikeouts. He was very impressive, and the Cincinnati's bats came out to play, including Tyler Stevenson's 3-run home run in the 7th inning to kind of break it open for the Big Red Machine. LaKeena, I know Cincinnati had that hot start to start the year, but they're now currently 2 games below 500. Do you think that Terry Francona can guide this crew back to the 500
so. I think they're too far. I think they're
mark?
too far back. They're too far back. I think Sal Stewart, I know he had 6 RBIs, which was career high for him on Saturday in that route. But look, I mean, as for the Yankees, look, this is just a bad week for the Yankees. I think everybody has them. I think I'm not gonna oh my God, they will get Austin Wells back from the IL, so that should help a little bit. Hopefully, those cervical headaches are pretty Yeah, they're pretty painful. So yeah, hopefully he'll be able to get those under control. But yeah, the Reds are, to me, the Reds, I think look, they've been disappointing this year. So I don't see them. They could perhaps maybe make a little bit of a run, but I don't see it. They're too far back in both the wild card and the National League wild card race. Now, as far as the Yankees are concerned, going back to them, like I said, it's like they get Austin Wells back, they get a couple other guys back. They've been able to do okay without Aaron Judge, but you got to think, especially with this series against Cincy, they definitely going to need him back. So we'll see what happens there. Now Tampa, we talked about Tampa. They won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, and like I said, it's going to be back and forth. I don't think neither one of these teams are going to run away with that division. I think I can see both. I don't know if Tampa Bay is going to do anything, but I think if you're the Yankees, you're going to need maybe another reliever to kind of help out with your pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with those two teams in the AL East.
I agree with you about the Yankees. Their relief pitching got exposed these last 2 games. This is one of the reasons why they lost. A couple of the series to summarize on. I think you mentioned about this series, but I'll repeat it again. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Colorado Rockies. Of course, the Rockies are the worst team in baseball at 30-48 next to Anaheim Angels. Of course, the Pirates are back to 500 at 39-39. And don't look now, even though I'm not a believer in this team, but the Minnesota Twins, they took 2 out of 3 in the desert against the struggling Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen, who was supposed to sign with the Cubs early in the this past offseason, got rocked last Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, Byron Bucks had a grand slam. Oh, look, like I said what I said about Gallen, so I'm just gonna leave that alone. But yeah, Byron Buxton had hit a grand slam. They had a 10-run 5th inning. I talked about for the Twins on Saturday to end that rout against the D-bats 16-8, and also to the Twins. Kriegler. He had 3 hits as they actually came back. They're actually down 2-1, but they came back and beat the D-bats to finish up their series. They're only 2 back in that 3.5 back, I should say, in that division. So, like I said, they're kind of the same thing with some of the other teams we've mentioned. But we'll see. Talk to me by July 4th. I mean, if they're still within striking distance with the Guardians and the White Sox in the AL Central, even the Tigers too. And I'll even say this: I think the Royals might still look. I know that the Royals, they've been very disappointing this year, but Bobby Witt Jr. has been really solid. Salvador Perez has been good as well. So like I said, I don't know if they'll be a factor. I'm talking about the Royals, but they did win 2 out of 3, like you said, against the Cardinals. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting. The Twins are going to be a very fascinating team to watch as we get to closer and closer to the All-Star break.
Yeah, they have a couple of talking about the Twins. They have a couple of good trading pieces, including starting pitcher Joe Ryan. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of Detroit, as we get into the schedule for this week in MLB, the Tigers will host a big 3-game series against the New York Yankees starting tonight. Tonight's matchup should be interesting. Garrett Cole versus Framber Valdez. That should be fun. Other series that will be starting tonight, Kansas City will take on Tampa Bay in the Trop. Texas will visit Miami to take on the Marlins. Philadelphia and Washington will get down in our nation's capital. The Houston Astros will visit Toronto north of the border. The LaKeena's Cubs will visit New York to take on the Mets. Milwaukee will face Cincinnati. Cleveland will face the White Sox on the south side. The Dodgers and Minnesota will do battle in the Twin Cities. Arizona will take a trip down to the Show Me State to face the St. Louis Cardinals. Boston will continue their West Coast road trip. They'll face Colorado. Baltimore will stay out west to take on the Anaheim Angels, and the Atlanta Braves will head on the road. They'll start their West Coast road trip against San Diego. Their first game of that series can be seen on ESPN exclusively tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Finish up the series that starts tomorrow. Seattle and Pittsburgh. Seattle continues their East Coast road trip here. Also, the A's and San Francisco. They start their series as well. Let me see if I get it. Baltimore. Okay. Cleveland. Okay, we got that. Cleveland, Milwaukee. Okay, yeah, I think that's all. Arizona. We talked about that. Okay, yeah. So Arizona. Okay, so we got that there. So Prime Video on Wednesday will have the finish of that Yankees Detroit series. We'll see how that is by that point as well. And also for those of you on Thursday, as some games here, of course, the Yankees and the Red Sox continue their however you want to say it, especially the Red Sox haven't been very good this year. The first game of that series will be on MLB Network, as well as some other series that starts Texas and Toronto. They start their series as well, and that is your schedule for this week in MLB.
Hour number 1 has come to a close. Hour number 2 starts after these messages right here on Second City Sports or in Sports Zone Chicago. The Chicago Bulls have 1 or 2 important decisions to make in terms of tomorrow's NBA draft. Where will Giannis Antetokounmpo land? The Chicago Bears, we have your dates for starting training camp, so don't skip out on your summer vacation plans. And we'll have your World Cup soccer update. We have a back-to-back U.S. Open champion golf, and we'll have a special Chicago edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. You stick and stay. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena, and you're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday Extravaganza edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps to follow all of Sports Chicago's programming here on the network. As we kick off hour number 2 discussing the Bulls, the NBA draft, Giannis, where will he land, and a whole lot more for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding the Bulls in the NBA draft, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, the big story here you would think would be Giannis. Where will Giannis go? But no. Apparently at about 9:15 Chicago time, news came out. Shout out to Pete Thamel from ESPN, who is great covering college sports, as well as Adam Schefter, who actually is involved with his alma mater, reported this. But Dusty May, fresh off a national championship at Michigan, decides that he says bye-bye, and now he is going to the Mavs. Yep, the Dallas Mavericks. And this actually came together kind of quick, I guess. And no details of contract. I guess they're still working on some of the parameters, but this is sort of shocking to say the least, because by all indications, he was going to stay at Michigan. He actually just got a new contract in April to stay at Michigan. Now, of course, Mike Boynton, of course, if you guys remember, he was at Oklahoma State for a little bit, joined Coach May's staff a couple of years ago. So that gives them, he's going to be the interim for right now. That gives them some stability there. But this whole thing talks about loyalty and stuff. Well, they can go pound sand with that. So, what do you think about this news? That came across this morning.
Shocking. As you always say, welcome to college sports 2026 and beyond. So as we all said for a long time, there's no loyalty with the coaches. The players recognize that now. You have this, why you have NIL in the transfer portal to those players that wanted to play for Dustin May. They got to find hopefully the NCAA, which has had no real leadership since I don't know when. Hopefully they can find some other places to play if they want to play in a different place. But we all know money talks, BS walks at the end of the day. As the great Wesley Snipes, aka Nino Brown, once said from the movie New Jack City, and one of my favorite rappers of all time, Kumo D, said that phrase as well. So we all know it's about the money at the end of the day. Dustin May wanted an opportunity to coach in the league. He's going to do that. He's going to coach Cooper Flagg. I don't think he's going to coach Kyrie Irving or any other of those veterans on that squad. So he's going to have a different looking squad come opening night in mid-October. But this is a dream that he wanted. He got fairly compensated. And we'll see what happens going forward as the Dallas Mavericks still trying to rebuild now, starting with now second-year player as the next year, Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, Masai is a first big hire from Masai, new GM. New GM Masai Ujiri. So he went outside the box. He said he was open that he would get college coaches. Well, he got a college coach. So all right. Now I know some people say, well, what about, hey, maybe if you're Michigan, look, you finish up the season, and depending on if Mike Boynton does well, I think you got to give him a shot, perhaps getting that head coaching job. Now, they do want to get a big name, especially off of national championship. You got Billy Donovan. I know John Greenberg, who was the first to say it, from The Athletic, but I know some other folks have said it too. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that he's been out of the college ranks for about a little over a decade now. And if you're Coach Donovan, do you want to have to deal with, the NILs and the ever-changing landscape, having to, constantly, change your, roster every other year just about, and, deal with the pressures of that. So if you're Coach Donovan, I know you want to get back in the coaching ranks, but do you really want to go through that again? There's a reason why he left just about a couple years before NIL became a big thing.
Yeah, if Billy Donovan really wanted to coach at college basketball, he would have taken the North Carolina job instead of now former NBA head coach Brian Malone. So there's your answer right there. If you're Billy Donovan, you could take a year or two just to sit out, reevaluate things. He can still work in basketball. He could come back as a front office executive if he wants to, not here in Chicago, but somewhere else. Or he could definitely coach somewhere else in the league. So Billy Donovan, he's a Hall of Fame. He has that respect of his peers. He knows what he's doing. So I don't think he, especially at the point in his life, I believe he's in his early 60s now. So he still looks good for his age. You don't want that stress in today's day and age from college sports. So I think when Billy Donovan coaches again, it's going to be in the NBA.
I could picture maybe doing some TV work, maybe, for a little bit, kind of like what Michael Malone did before. Of course, he did North Carolina. I could see him probably, He's been decent. He's done that before, so he's pretty good. So I can see him doing that maybe within the college or the NBA ranks. So we'll see. But yeah, Dusty may go into Dallas. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll be able to talk about that. But with the NBA draft, commencing tomorrow. Now, the interesting part, if you're the Bulls, you've got 2 picks in the top 15. Now, you got new head coach Thiago Splitter in place to the fold. So you got to think, how much will that? How much, I'm sure he'll have a lot of a say on who the Bulls pick at that number. What those picks, number 4, number 15. Some of the drafts are changing. Some people have said maybe AJ Deboskia from BYU, but they've got, I've heard Seth Greenberg, of course, former Virginia Tech coach, said, making the TV round saying that he would be surprised if Darren Peterson gets picked tomorrow. So Sid, what do you think? Well, let's look at ourselves. Sorry, my apologies for doing that, but let's do what the Bulls do first, and we'll talk about the bigger scope of it.
What I think the Bulls will do, I think they'll select Caleb Wilson with that number 4 pick. I know I heard someone say over the weekend that he was the number 1 player that looked at the most film out of their North Carolina squad last year. He's a dog in a good way that he wants to go after it. He has that go get it mean streak mentality, almost like the Kobe Mamba mentality. That he wants to go get it, improve everybody. You need that kind of attitude on your team. And so I think the Bulls will select Caleb Wilson. I know many mock drafts I had him at number 4 over the weekend. I'm looking at NBA draft.net, which is a good site, by the way. They have the Bulls selected Caleb Wilson with that number 4 pick. But me personally, I like Darius Cup because I know they have him listed as a point guard, but you saw what he did with that Arkansas team last year. He took that team through, I believe, this round of 16 of the NCAA tournament. He's not only a good playmaker, but he can shoot it. He can go get it. He can score. So we all know that the Bulls need wing players. I know you got Midas there, but you still need wing players. You definitely need shooters and playmakers on this team. But like you said, you're not going to get everything overnight. But what the Bulls need now, they need a couple of shooters and they need playmakers as well. I think Darius Cup can fill a couple of those needs to start off with. But I think that the Bulls will go with Caleb Wilson.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I know some people have said that maybe Cam Boozer, of course, his dad played here for a little bit. And look, there have been a lot of the consensus here, of course, is Caleb Wilson. Now, as far as number 15 picks concerned, speaking of Michigan, Yaxel Londenberg from Michigan. He's a big guy. He can shoot the 3 if you saw him during the Michigan's title run. Back in March going into April. I think he definitely fits what I think Thiago Splitter wants to kind of like he's a good defender. I think he was Big Ten all defense. So he knows how to protect the interior and can score in the interior. He has that rim protection presence that has been dormant for the Bulls, if you will. I know Nate Ament from Tennessee. I know his name's being talked about as well. Perhaps is for that 15 pick. He's another wing guy. He is also a SEC all defense. So again, defense. Coach Splitter said in his presser. Defense has really been the thing here has been like the thing that has not been good for the Bulls these last couple of seasons. So for me, I think this is really what the Bulls going to be looking at in that terms. Now, remember, all you Bulls fans, they also have 2 second-round picks as well at 38 and 56. So there's a little chance. Now, could they trade perhaps maybe one of those picks? Perhaps maybe you'll try to trade up, especially from that 4 spot. I know that was the rumor for like a week ago, but I don't know if teams are going to do that. But yeah, I think the Bulls. Look, if you're Bryson Graham and Thiago Splitter, you got a solid. You got a lot of choice if you're the Bulls, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Let me throw a couple of names out there just to keep an eye on. I don't know these 2 players going to be there at number 15. You mentioned about Landenborg from University of Michigan. How about Morris Johnson, 6'10", 250? And how about Ade Mara, 7'4", 260? I don't think the Bulls will pick a player like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did pick a player like that. But I think Morris Johnson may be there at 15. I wouldn't be upset if the Bulls selected him either. They don't select Landenborg.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what, like I said, who's going to be there. I know I've seen like Landenborg. I know he could be perhaps maybe So I've seen some mocks where maybe OKC could pick him at 12. Again, this is according to some of the mock drafts, the resources I've seen. So yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be very interesting. I think it's gonna be a lot of like numbers and stuff. Who's gonna be available? Who falls? Who is that surprise pick that comes out of nowhere? You're like, wait, huh? I didn't see that guy come and go into there. So I think it's going to be a really interesting sort of minutia of what they will do here in those picks with those top 15. So I think if you're the Bulls, you're in a good spot. You're not gonna you're not gonna do a lot of winning this year. So just put up a really
you don't have to do a lot of reaching either.
No, yeah, exactly. So you just put together, get a couple guys that can be a part of your future, part of that foundation, and try to mix them up and see if you can kind of get it going once you are ready to compete within the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I don't think Nate Amon is bad either. I know we talked about him a lot last year. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you. We'll get to the Giannis stuff coming up in a few minutes, but we're still discussing the Bulls, their options in the NBA draft. And I just want to go with you according to NBADraft.net. There, we'll go through just the first 14 picks, but I'll go through the first few picks at a time. According to NBADraft.net, they have Washington selected DJ DeBonsa out of BYU. Desperately he wants to play for the Utah Jazz, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Speaking of Utah, they have selected Cam Boozer with the number 2 pick. Memphis next with Darren Peterson. Of course, 4, they have Chicago selected Caleb Wilson. And number 5, they have the LA Clippers here selecting Keaton Wagler, the point guard, shooting guard out of the University of Illinois.
Yeah, I think I've seen his name, go up in the drafts. I know some Bulls fans want him to, come to the Bulls, but I don't think he's not going to, I know that people try to trade that 15 to try to trade up, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Clippers do here. And I don't know if they're in rebuild mode or they're just going to try to tear everything down. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He's going to be one of those guys. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes tomorrow.
And don't forget, Kawhi Leonard is entering the last year of his contract next year. So the Clippers are rebuilding. They take Keaton Walker. I think that message will be clear. Say Kawhi Leonard, even though you had the last couple of good years playing majority of the games, so long, sucker. But we'll see what happens with the Clippers. Going through picks 6 through 10, according to NBADraft.net, Brooklyn Nets have the 6th pick. They have them selecting Mikael Brown, the star point guard. Number 7, Sacramento. Darius Lecoq. They have Darius Lecoq being selected by the Brooklyn Nets. Mikael Brown with the number 7 pick will be selected by the Sacramento Kings. We know the Kings have needed a point guard for a long time. They had a couple of them let it get away. Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox, just saying. With the number 8 pick, the Atlanta Hawks, they have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Brayton Burris out of the University of Arizona. Number 9, we talked about Dallas just a moment ago. NBA Draft.net has them selected Kingston Flemings, the freshman sensation out of the University of Houston, which is not a bad replacement for Kyrie Irving, assuming that they trade Kyrie Irving this summer. And with the number 10 pick with the Milwaukee Bucks, they have selected Nate Emmett, the power forward, small forward, scoring sensation.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good fit. I'm talking about Emmett for especially once they do trade Giannis. Talk about Milwaukee, he definitely can shoot. He can definitely defend. He has the size to do that. So yeah, he is a project though. I think he's only like 19 or 20. So he's only 19. So will Milwaukee fans be patient with him when it comes to that? But yeah, we'll have to wait.
You may have no choice. We'll tell you why in a second. And of course, wrapping up the first round picks according to NBADraft.net. With the 11th pick, they have Golden State selecting Kareem Lopez, the forward sensation. The number 12 pick we mentioned about OKC, they had them selecting Hans Steinbach, the power forward center. The number 13 pick, they have Miami selected Morris Johnson. I would not be surprised if Pat Riley and Cruz selects him because he's that type of player that the Heat always has with Heat culture, interception, and toughness inside. And of course, they have with that 14th pick, they have the Charlotte Hornets selected Ade Mara, the big guy. So, and that's your 14 first round selections according to NBADraft.net.
Yeah, I think Hans Steinbeck is actually going to be an interesting. It's going to be very interesting where he goes to. I think for Washington. Yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting as well. So yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of players. They're going to be fascinating to see where a lot of them go. Isaiah Evans. Some people say he could be a late first rounder for Duke. Alan Graves from Santa Clara, who led Santa Clara in scoring last season for the Broncos. Christian Anderson from Texas Tech. Gonna be just see where he goes. Terrace Reed Jr. From UConn, where he's gonna go. Ubeka Corey from Stanford. I know I've seen some. He could be a late first rounder as well. Chris Sinek from Jr. from Houston. Another guy that could be interested. The Baron Philon from Alabama. So there are going to be a lot of names going to be hearing tomorrow. So the NBA draft's going to be a very interesting and very fascinating as usual. So, but yeah, all this is going to depend on what happens, if anything happens tomorrow. Because if you believe what Sean Charnia says, that a Giannis trade could come down the pike tomorrow during the draft, and apparently it's going to be between Boston and Miami. And I guess there's some split between the front offices of the Bucks to see where to go. Where do you go? They have a Giannis, Jaylen Brown, I guess basically a straight up with a couple of pieces. And then you got, Miami, where they, get a lot of the role players. And then perhaps they use some future draft picks as well. Bama Bio, he may not be there after next season. He's on the last year of his deal. And I think it's a lot of unanswered questions here, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, if anything happens tomorrow during the draft.
It's definitely going to be tough to get something done before the draft tomorrow, but it's not impossible. But I think it's highly unlikely. But in this strange world, you never know what's going to happen. But as I said last week on the show, and I'll say it here again today, Giannis hosts the Cards and all this. If he wants to go to the Knicks, which is not going to happen, but he'll find his way to go to New York. If he wants to go to the Lakers to play with LeBron, which is not going to happen, but he'll find a way to do that. But like you said, Boston's a front runner here. If he wants to go to Miami, he'll go to Miami. But like I said, it looks like Boston's a front runner here in Jaylen Brown, even though he had an MVP type season. Boston, I think the deal makes sense for them financially because they gave Brown the big contract. Jason Tatum, who's their franchise player, even though he got hurt toward the end of that series against Philadelphia in this past year's playoffs, he's their franchise guy. They paid him a whole lot of money as well. And with that new so-called hard salary cap and with the NBA, which they signed before the start of last season, you can't keep everybody happy in terms of paying everybody. So you got to move a couple of pieces off the boards. So for financial reasons, it's going to make sense. But I think the number one question is going to come down to, will the Milwaukee Bucks get fair compensation? I think that's the one thing that's holding it up here. Obviously, Giannis is saying yes or no. But besides that, will Milwaukee get fair compensation here? Because usually with superstars, with the talent like Giannis has, still a top 5, top 10 player in the league, you usually don't get fair compensation. Could a third team get involved? Sure. But wherever the scenario is a 3 or 14 team trade or just a straight up 1-to-1, will you get fair compensation for it? I don't know.
Well, I think that's why I don't think it could. Like I said, could a trade happen? Yeah, but like I said, I'll believe it when I see it because everything gets kind of complicated. You're talking about matching salaries, physicals, draft picks, and such. So this is really gonna be the thing here if you're either one of these teams. So again, I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what Giannis. I think the decision is gonna be also it's gonna be all in Giannis. The ball's in Giannis's court basically. So we'll just see if a trade does come down the pike tomorrow. But like I said, I don't see it. Will I be surprised if something does happen? No. But if something doesn't happen and we'll have to wait maybe another week or maybe 2 weeks, before July 1st, or maybe even the 31st, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And I think the other $64,000 question is, let's just say a trade up 1-to-1 happens between Giannis and Jaylen Brown, and Milwaukee gets maybe this year, or I don't think they have a first round pick this year, but they give up next year's first round pick and a future first round pick. Okay. What does what we all know what Milwaukee's team is going to look like. They're going to be in a total rebuild. But if you're Boston, what's going to the rest of your starting five look like? Derek White is still there, assuming he doesn't get traded. We know that Jason Tatum is going to be there. He's their franchise player. But everything else, what is your bench going to look like? Is Sam Hauser going to be there? And some of the other key contributors like Kada, who stepped up big this year. Is he going to be there next year as your young backup big guy? So I'm worried if you're a Celtics fan, you're worried about some more about your supporting cash, i.e., your bench. If you acquire Giannis, depends on who goes in that deal, in that potential deal.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to be a trade. That kind of trade. Like, there's so many parameters, so much stuff. So, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit complicated. Could there be a third team involved? But yeah, we'll have to wait and see as you're going to be able to see if the drama unfolds in the 80th annual 2026 NBA draft coming from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. The first round will be held tomorrow. At 7 o'clock Central Time on both ABC and ESPN, while the second round, I should say, will take place Wednesday night on ESPN at 7 o'clock. So we're just to see if, where does AJ Bosca goes, if he goes number one, if Peterson goes number one, if Giannis, there is a trade for Giannis, does get broken during the first night of the draft. Gonna be very interesting. So I expect big ratings for this draft as well. So I know ABC, ESPN are probably hoping that the trade, Giannis trade, does come down the pike tonight, or tomorrow night, I should say, and probably even Wednesday night. So it might get people to tune in for the second round. It was the second stage of sports.
Yeah.
On Sports Chicago, LaKeena McGee Brown with you. Let's so we got a couple of minutes left. So let's do an audible here. Let's do some hockey. And a big trade came down the pike in hockey yesterday about this time. The Senators, they traded Captain Tkcachuk to Florida. Of course, Matt Tkachuk is over there. So they traded a couple of, their first, the Panthers, both of Panthers' first round picks, because they had two of them in this Friday's draft. Number 9 and number 25. And they acquired that from the Kraken about a year ago. Well, and they did that for from the Seattle Kraken. Of course, they did that for Stankovic earlier yesterday, as well as a 2029 pick, which is a top 10 protected, and a 2027 second round pick. So, Sid, what do you think about all that?
It's not the Wayans brothers, but we got two Tkachuk brothers that'll be playing on the same team, and I love it. I know Florida won the Stanley Cup, I believe, a couple of years ago. They missed the playoffs this past season, but they're back, at least on paper. They'll definitely be one of the top teams to watch in the Eastern Conference next year. Like I said, they gave your Carolina Hurricanes a little bit of a scare in that first round, but Carolina sent them home packing quickly. But so when you a competitive team like Florida that has had success over recent years, you have pieces to move or draft capital. You make bold moves like this, and congratulations to the Panthers for doing that. Like I said, they'll be one of the top teams in the NHL to watch last year. Now, bringing it back home to Chicago, Kyle Davidson, when you're going to make that move? I hope he's not just sitting on his ass because he got that contract extension, which I thought was premature by Danny Wirtz to give him, by the way. But when you're going to make this move, because I know many Blackhawks fans, including right here, expect you to make the playoffs next year. Your head coach said it to his team at the end of last year. If you saw every shift episodes right here on YouTube on the Blackhawks official YouTube channel, he says, we're not going to do this again next year. We expect to make the playoffs. Kyle Davidson, what are you waiting for? I know free agency starts after the 4th of July holiday, but when you're going to make a move, you just get sitting on your ass thinking that Connor Bedard is going to take care of things. You got to make some moves and make some smart moves now.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers are already busy. Of course, we talked about the Stankovic contract, because the trade, I should say, after the Panthers traded him, to the Kraken for that number 25 pick. So former Blackhawks, former Blackhawk Jason Dickinson, he gets a 5-year, $20 million deal with the Edmonton Oilers, as well as Connor Murphy, same deal, 5 years, $20.5 million. As well. And the Mammoth, they've added some experience to their coaching staff. Andre Tournier, they signed him to a new multi-year contract, as well as Lane Forsythe. Also, Adam Foote, who has a gold medal, a couple of Stanley Cups to his credit, has added on as part of his staff. So the Mammoth did very well in their first year of existence, and now they got a great all-star coaching staff.
We getting old, LaKeena. I remember Adam Foote, one of the best underrated
Right.
defensemen in the
Yes.
league at the time for the Colorado Avalanche with Joe Sakic and those boys. Adam Deadmarsh. We're both getting old. Let's just say that. But he is a
Yes.
very good underrated player. So, like I said, add him to the coaching staff will just help those players move further along. Move them further along.
Yeah, I said won a couple of cups with the Avs. So yeah, we're feeling very old here. So like I said, we'll talk about so we'll talk about the NHL draft coming up on our next show on Friday. But in the meantime, between time, we're gonna take a really quick break, of course, for our sports potpourri segment. Of course, Wyndham Clark goes second in 3 years, second U.S. Open in 3 years. Serena's back at Wimbledon. We'll talk about that. And speaking of Wimbledon, they have a new host in sports media news. Also at ESPN, a veteran ESPN Sports Center anchor announces her retirement. And we got a double dose of old school TV Monday as we salute one of the all-time great TV directors and producers, but also we'll give a shout out to a Chicago-based series that should get a little bit more love. I think Sid and I both agree on that, but we'll let you guys be the judge about that. We got double dose old school TV coming up next. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago Sports Potpourri segment coming up right after this.
Poof.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to second right here on Sports Chicago. See, the kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she over here. I've been pointing the wrong way all this time. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter 80. That's SIDKID 80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute again the IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment. As LaKeena is over there. This is our last segment of the show for today. So if you had any last minute questions or comments on any of the topics we discussed thus far on today's show, you better hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page, as well as Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, the NFL, of course, I know they're on break right now. They had their mandatory minicamps, OTAs. Well, they did, about a couple of hours ago, they announced their training camp dates. And all you Bears fans, I know you're going to be waiting on pins and needles for this because you're going to get your plans. But Hallis Hall, of course, the rookie mini camps will start on June 25th, while the veterans will join on June 28th. Some of the other teams are doing this sort of same, similar. I know Arizona. I know they start early because they both their camps start the 22nd of July. I know Houston, theirs is pretty early too on the 22nd. So in the 22nd, 21st, 22nd range. I know Philadelphia, they don't start theirs till the 28th. And I know San Fran also on the 18th, of course, defending the reigning champ Seahawks. They start theirs on the 17th for the rookies, 24th for the veterans, and 25th. So any really big surprises here? I know you got some other nuggets on that end with that.
Oh, you said Arizona. Who starts early?
I think Seattle. They start pretty early. Well, the rookies. I think the rookies come in. I think on the 17th, okay. And also the San Francisco starts on the 18th. Their rookies come in early too. So yeah. So some rookies.
Yeah, because I know. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, because I usually the teams that play in the Hall of Fame game, they usually start a week or two early before everybody else. But for the Bears, we all know that it's going to be an important year for them this year. Even though on the days that the rookies report, I know some veterans do show up to help start the team camaraderie early with some of these rookies, and other veterans don't report until the day before or the day of. So when the rookies report, I know some veterans will report right with them just to help them along, get situated, and get their chemistry going with their new teammates. So football will be back before you know it. Like you said, hopefully no one gets in trouble between now and then. But for the Bears, usually about the end of July, just like everybody else, it is about right that they start training camp. So we all know that training camp is a grind. You learn a new playbook, and for Ben Johnson in particular, this will be his second year going to being the head coach of the Chicago Bears. A lot of stuff is expected from him and his new team. They got younger and better throughout the draft and free agency. Of course, looking at Caleb Williams, I know he'll be excited going into his third year overall. So pro second year under Ben Johnson. A lot of expectations is expected from him as well. So look for the Bears to get off to a good start in training camp. And there's going to be a lot of storylines as usual. I think we said this going into last year. Most of us was cautiously optimistic, but with them winning the division last year and winning the playoff game last year, expectations are going to be high, but not all storylines are created equal, and not all storylines are going to be negative finally. So, we know what Ben Johnson's like. We know what these players who are on this team from last year, they know what to expect. And so it's up to those new guys to adapt to the culture and see if they can blend in with those veterans.
Still no pass rusher though, and I think that's really going to be the thing here. And you thought you were going to get you thought you were going to get Cam Jordan. He ended up going back to New Orleans. Though there are a couple of guys that are still out there as well. So I guess they're going to go with what they have. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, we got some time between now and the start of training camp. We'll also get some folks on who cover the team, to come in and what their expectations are going to be for this season as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But shout out to Jeffrey Simmons, I should say. He gets a new deal from the Titans, $105.8 million with $100 million guaranteed. He has been one of the few bright spots for the Titans in recent years. He's a 5-time captain, 3-time All-Pro, and a Man of the Year, Walter Payton Man of the Year winner for the Titans. Look, you got to, I think he's one of the best defensive linemen, even though, he plays for the Titans, but you got Robert Saleh, who's a big defensive-minded head coach. So having one of the captains of defense there for a little bit, I think that should really help settle in that defense.
Yeah, you have one of those key players that are going to set the tone and carry out the message throughout that locker room. As you mentioned about Robert Sala being a defensive guy, you need those veterans to help carry out that message to reach the young guys as the rest of that locker room. So, like you said, it's a good move by the organization as they try to rebuild here.
Yeah, should be interesting to see what happens with that defense. Now, Brandon Ayuk is making it clear that he wants his preferred destination whenever the 49ers do decide to let him go or trade him or whatever. He posted a video this morning in his story that, Sunday night, last night I should say, that he has Go Commanders. And their rallying cry. He actually posted a photo of former QB, of course, Mark Ribbon hoisting the trophy when Washington won Super Bowl 26 against the Giants. Yeah. You thought the Bears Stadium
Can't say
stuff
trolling
was weird.
anybody.
Yeah. You thought the Bears Stadium stuff was weird, but I don't know. Hey,
Sounds like somebody trying to find a job. Pay me. Okay, good luck. He'll get his money from somewhere, but will it be actually what he wants? That's the $1 million question here.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. I know he's still under contract with San Fran, so yeah. John, I'm sure John Lynch. I'm sure he'll figure it out. Look, he's dealt with this for years now, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, just thought I would mention that. It just sounded very silly what he did, but whatever.
Yeah, boy. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here, kicking it with you on this Monday extravaganza edition. Let's go champion. I think a few people expected this, but many other pundits didn't expect it. How did Wyman get it done?
Yeah, I mean, look, remember people forget that he won the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. People forget that this is the second U.S. Open in 3 years. And look, I know that folks, last year at Oakmont, I know, look, he broke some lockers, he swore off some folks, but like he apologized for that, and he came back, led wire to wire. Kind of dominated. He did have a couple little oops here and there, but that birdie at 16 that kind of sealed the win for him. I think that's going to be one of those shots that's going to be remembered for a long time. He shot 73, but he was far enough back, far enough ahead so that he was able to kind of get the win there. But a sweet boy there, of course. Yesterday was Father's Day, and having his dad. I remember his dad was recovering from open heart surgery when he won a couple of years ago. And, he came in, took the red eye. He's, looking great, took the red eye there. He surprised him, as he was getting, the hugs and stuff. And I think you can tell how surprised he was. He wasn't expecting him to come. But, yeah, that was a really sweet moment. And look, he gets $4.5 million. And, I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, $4.5 million sounds great to most people, including both of us here on the program. So, as you mentioned, congratulations to him. And I think that when it's the next big tournament, I know when's the next big tournament, because I don't have the calendar in front of me. But
yeah, the Open Championship, which is back at Royal Birkdale this year, it'll be July 16th. So yeah, so it's not even a month from now. So look, you gotta think he'll probably be one of. I know he didn't do well last year at the Open Championship, but look, I mean, like Scottie Scheffler, who's a defending champion, I think a lot is going to be considered him. Sam Burrs, who was close, I know that that shot at 15, I know he's going to be kicking himself that, because that could have given him a birdie, perhaps maybe that could have forced a playoff. Tom Kim, who was his birthday, got a nice little birthday present. His highest finish, he was finishing a solo third place. Scheffler, who left some birdies out there, but he did tie for fourth. Gary Woodland, who won it last year. Another top 10 finish for him. Tommy Fleetwood, who I think will be one of the favorites because he grew up not too far from Royal Birkdale. He finished tied for 11 with Xander Schauffele and Justin Thomas, tied for 17th. So some good showing there for some of the golfers. But yeah, I think your focus is going to be on Royal Birkdale coming up in a few weeks.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena kicking it with you in our sports potpourri segment. Let's transition over to football, as the rest of the world calls it. We call it soccer here in America. The Men's FIFA World Cup last Friday night, LaKeena, USA, they shut out Australia 2-0 to qualify in the knockout round from Group D. I know some pundits said that that we should start taking the USA men's team seriously. They haven't been this good in a long time. Are you on board, or are you still waiting to see more in their next match? I believe will take place on Thursday.
Yeah, Turkey. Yeah, they finish up the group play. Yeah, look, they're already in the. I mean, they're already in the tournament. They're in the round of 32. So this, I don't want to say this doesn't really mean anything. It really doesn't. So, but yeah, that was a nice dominating performance. I know people thought that Pulisic not being there, they would have a little bit of trouble with Australia, but they jumped on them early. Alex Freeman, who I know some people didn't know this, but he's actually is the son of former Packers great Antonio Freeman. He's been with the U.S. squad for a couple of years now. Yeah, so he got a goal there. But yeah, I mean, I think the U.S. should be. Look, it'll be interesting to see who they play in the round of 32 because remember the way the format works now with the extension teams. But yeah, I think Turkey they shouldn't have no trouble with Turkey to finish. To finish up group play, so they should be okay there. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens now. Shout out to Lionel Messi from Argentina, the defending champs. He actually just scored his 17th career World Cup goal, which actually the record's been broken. He actually missed the PK earlier, which I think that was I don't want to say that was on purpose, him missing that goal, but I think he wanted to do a little more dramatic. So that's why what happens there. They actually lead Austria right now as their second game of a group play. So France, they had a nice show there. They play Iraq. You get Mbappe. You're coming up at 4:00 on Fox. Norway, you get Holland. You get to see him against Senegal. That should be a fun match on Fox as well in prime time in Jersey. And Jordan, Algeria. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's going to be your schedule. But yeah, the U.S. should be just fine. Like I said, the Turkey match doesn't really mean that much. So it just if you're Pulisic, you don't want to have to play that match. So you just forget about it, as they say. You won the group, so just concentrate on getting yourself happy for the next round.
Like I said, we had some of the scores from this past weekend. We won't go through all of them, but Belgium and Iran had a scoreless tie. Of course, Spain shut out Saudi Arabia 4-0. And of course, Germany got by Ivory Coast 2-1 last Friday. And of course, Japan shut out Tunisia 4-0. Any other surprises from the other scores that surprised you, or is just what you expected?
Shout out to Cape Verde. We talked about them. They forced a tie against Spain, and they got a tie against Uruguay. It looks like they're going to be going to the round of 32. I don't think anybody thought that they could get this far, but look, they've been really solid this tournament. So I don't know if they may not. They'll probably get to maybe they'll get to the second round, but I don't know if they'll get any further than that. But shout out to them for showing that they belong in that field. So yeah, France has looked really good. Canada versus Switzerland. That'll be on Wednesday. You watch that game at 2:00 on Fox. That should be a fun matchup for their group too. So that's gonna be whoever wins that will, if they do win, whoever does win that game that match will be the winner of that group. So that should be a fun one coming up. Let's see another one here. No, well, Curacao and Ivory Coast. I mean, that could be for the third spot. Like I said, Turkey and the U.S. That'll be at SoFi on Thursday. Like I said, I don't think it doesn't mean that much for the U.S. So they give a lot of their second string guys there, and just they'll be all right. So yeah, but again, so just some of the matches are gonna be coming up as wrapping up group play is finally starting to wrap up here.
All right, Second City Sports Zone Chicago. We have breaking news from the world of the NBA. Not what you think, but we talked about this last week. Looking at Trae Young opted out his deal. He's going to sign. Excuse me. He's going to sign a new 4-year, $212 million deal to stay with the Washington Wizards, going to Shams Charania.
Yeah, not a big surprise. I mean, I think he got traded from Atlanta. The Wizards will be interested to see what they do here, but not a big surprise. Look, like I said, I mean, this is going to be the theme here for the NBA. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what happens. Who they pick? Do they pick Devontae tomorrow at number 1? We'll see. Or will they pick Derek Peterson? Again, we'll see. But I guess Trae Young could be kind of like a mentor for Brian Keith and the rest of that coaching staff with the Wizards. So not surprised, but yeah, I think this is probably the least surprising of all of it so far.
Yep. Like I said, we'll see what happens with the NBA draft, which commences tomorrow on ESPN. All right, LaKeena has some sports media news, and one of the pieces of news of also a very good friend of the show. Please share with the rest of the class.
Well, we'll do the big news that came across about like a little over an hour ago. Linda Cohn, of course, the veteran Sports Center anchor. She's been there since 1992. I remember her first year over there. Well, she made the announcement that she is retiring from ESPN. She's anchored more Sports Centers than anyone in history, yes, including the men. Who you think? Her final Sports Center appearance will be on this Friday coming up, but definitely the end of an era there. We talked about her when she was let go when they got rid of the LA part of the Sports Center. She's her hockey knowledge is probably she does that hockey too because she's she covered hockey for years before she joined ESPN. So, but yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely the end of an era. It's gonna be a theme here, but yeah, this is definitely the end of the era over at ESPN. They're going younger. They're going with a little bit more experience, but yeah, she's gonna be one of the greats that's gonna be missed.
Yeah, she's definitely up there with the Dan Patricks and the Rich Eisens and the late Stuart Scott. So she was one of those players that helped ESPN become the big brand that it is now. And like you said, her contributions are second to none. She's definitely one of the first female sports anchors over there at ESPN to hold it down. So congratulations to her on a great career. And she has her own YouTube channel now. So I know some people say she's going to be a little bit more freer in what she can say, she can say a little bit more now. So as we talked about last week, I know she made an appearance with Rich Eisen on This Is the Sports Center on his YouTube channel. So she's going to be free to say just about wherever she wants now. And like I said, salute to her on a great career.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, we'll salute to her absolutely. Now, CBS Sports, this news came across the wires over the weekend. We didn't get to talk about it, but Andrew Catalan, of course, he's terrific over there at CBS, but doing football, men's basketball, what have you, and then does some golf as well. Whenever Jim Nance takes a tournament off or two, but he's not going to have any partners. At least he's going to we'll see. Not just yet, but yeah. So Jason McCourty, speaking of ESPN, he signed an exclusive multi-year deal, so he's going to be with them full time. He's going to be doing appearances on Get Up, First Take, among others. Of course, we all know what happened with Charles Davis. He's going to be the new league college football game analyst. So they made an announcement about this time last year. So Andrew Kellett, also AJ Ross as well. Shout out to our girl on the sidelines, but they're going to be without he doesn't have any analysts for at least for right now.
They'll find somebody, someone that just recently retired or someone that hasn't been used for a while. I wouldn't not be surprised if they brought Tiki Barber back. I'm just saying, I know he took last year off. I know he does a radio show in New York, afternoon drive show in New York City, but I wouldn't be surprised if they asked him back. I would say Jameis Winston, but I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. Also, he would have been named already. So CBS has got to find somebody. They'll find somebody for him because they got all those games to cover. So but I'm sure it'll probably be somebody just starting out. So I won't be surprised that the CBS went that route either.
Yeah, I mean, remember Logan Ryan? I think he shadowed Jim Nance and Tony Romo for a couple games, especially when they did the Patriots Bucks game back last November. He said the production meetings and the prep work and such. And I know that Nance actually brought him on to do a little bit of a broadcast. He actually did pretty well halfway through the fourth quarter. So he could probably he's already there now doing college football. So I would be surprised if you see him. Of course, he won a couple Super Bowls with the Patriots, so I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him on. Perhaps maybe but yeah, like I say, they got a little bit of time, so they'll find somebody to replace him. He's not going to be all by Carolina. I'm sure he could, but I don't know if he won't be doing games by himself this season. Although he could, he's actually really good. But yeah, they'll find somebody with him.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Logan Ryan or somebody else, but they say Logan has a leg up right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens here now. And speaking of, as Sid said, a friend of the show, our girl is Bergamini. She's a part, of course, she does game stuff with the White Sox, but also her other job, she helps out with the pre and post stuff with the Bulls covers on the Score. Well, the Score made the announcement earlier this morning that they have extended their deal with the Bulls, keeping us 104.3 and also 670 as the flagship station for the Bulls. Alyssa will return as well as Chuck Swirsky and also Bill Wennington. Score will actually air a 15-minute pregame show hosted by Swirsky and 30-minute postgame with a rotating group of hosts. Of course, Alyssa does the betting analysis and such too, and also the sideline reporting as well for them. So yeah, so at least the Bulls, especially the kind of again, we know that the Bulls are going to be contending for a while, but in this case, they give us stability and stay with the flagship station, the radio station there.
Yeah, so stability is always important, especially when you have a broadcast team like the Bulls have on the radio side. We all know they're going through on the TV side due to the fortunate passing of Stacey King. But for as far as the radio, they're the best. Of course, Chuck Swirsky, another good friend of the show, does a great job. Lisa Berger, she's risen up through the ranks throughout all these years. And of course, she's co-pre-game host along with Ryan for the White Sox, and she really has earned her way throughout the years with working the Bulls radio broadcast. So it's great for her and great for the station as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so it should be still a fun broadcast, even though the Bulls probably won't be very good for the next year or two, even still. But so shout out to Reese Davis, of course. Going to back to ESPN. He's been named one of the studio hosts for their Wimbledon coverage coming up next week, this weekend, I should say, on this Sunday. So he and Malika Andrews will be sharing hosting duties. Of course, Reese will be teamed up with Andy Roddick, of course, a Wimbledon finalist. They'll be doing that for a lot of the breakfast of Wimbledon coverage through the gentlemen's, I should say, final. But yeah, so I think I remember he said this. He has said this in an interview over the weekend. I listened to that. He's really one of the greats of hosting. I'm glad he's finally getting his due, because I think he's really is like one of the best. Probably one of the best studio hosts ever. Of course, this is according to a report from our good friend Rob Schaefer, who's now does sports media news, sports business journal now. But yeah, good for him. And look, I think this definitely kind of like a turnaround with the ESPN tennis coverage.
Yeah, following the footsteps of Chris Fowler, Chris McKinstry to an extent, and Reese Davis, he does great work for College Game Day. So hopefully he does. I know he's going to do a great job with the Wimbledon coverage, but I'm interested to see what Malika Andrews does. I know ESPN is trying to extend her brand a little bit. She was on Good Morning America a few months ago, and of course she hosts NBA Today, the weekday afternoon show on ESPN. And so she's going to have do some work for them as well. I'm just interested in how they're going to use her. As far as the tennis coverage is concerned.
Yeah, she already did the Aussie Open with Katie George. Of course, she's going to be doing it again with the Wimbledon coverage. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how she does and how Reese does with the coverage too. Now, as far as Wimbledon, of course, Serena Williams will be in the tournament on the women's side as a wild card. That announcement was made about this time yesterday. She's 44. I mean, look, I think she probably sees it right now. There are no dominant women's players right now in the tennis side. Maybe she thinks she can, come in and squeeze in. I don't know, but she's. I think she won like no, I think she won. I think she won like 5 singles titles at Wimbledon. I think she and Venus won like 3 or 4 women's doubles titles. So, I mean, we've seen weirder things happen, but we'll see how this goes. I'm leaving it there.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll see how the TV ratings are as well, especially if they get close to winning the title for their circuit. So we know that individually they've been a big ratings sweepstakes for years, and like I said, they're batches for the doubles only. We'll see how many people will be watching, especially if they get close to winning their circuit.
Yeah, so we just see what happens with that. Now, anything else before we go to our double dose of old school TV Monday?
No, let's close it out.
All right, so of course we do, we honor some of the whether it's a TV show, movie, an individual person. Now we're gonna do a double dose of that this year, but real quick we'll do a shout out to we remember one of the all-time great showrunners and directors, James Burrows, 11-time Emmy winner. Of course, he co-created Cheers. He got to start actually in the theater. He, of course, directed All in the Family, Cheers, Taxi. He won a couple of Emmys doing Taxi in the 70s. And I think his credits include, I think also he's done Will and Grace. He also directed a lot of episodes for that show as well. And he actually just recently did some episodes of The Neighborhood in their last season that just ended in last month. So one of the all-time greats. And I want to give a shout out to him because he helped kind of shape the way directing how people you should treat, and I see some of the stars, Tony Danza posted something, Christopher Lloyd, of course, both from Taxi will do that show at some point for School TV Monday, Mary Lou Henner as well. I saw Cedric the Entertainer, Beth Bears, of course, they were on The Neighborhood. I know they posted, so he did a couple episodes. I think they have like 10 or 12 episodes of their show as well. So one of the all-time great directors and TV producers of all time.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the great actors that he had got a chance to direct, and we'll do all those shows down the road for Old School TV Monday. Like you mentioned, Tony Danza got his start on Taxi, not Who's the Boss. Mary Lou Henner, her career started to take off after that show in Taxi. You remember All in the Family? I think we did that show. That they changed a lot about how TV sitcoms were ran, especially was dealing with subjects for its time. And so, you got to have great storylines, great characters, and of course, great actors to portray them. And you got to have a good director to help carry out that vision and what it wants to be portrayed on in front of the big screen or the small screen.
And I think he gave everybody their confidence. Like I said, Mary Lou Henner, you mentioned, she actually, was a theater actress before she started doing television. She was very nervous, and I know she said Mr. Burroughs, helped her out kind of sell it. Same thing with Tony Danza too. This was his first TV gig, like you said. This is his first TV job, but he was very nervous, and James helped him, get it, calm him and stuff. He brought this just calming influence with folks. And of course, he brought a lot of humor and a lot of professionalism, and just a really great guy and a great director too. Like I say, he won 11 Emmys, and also Cheers too. We'll do that show down the line too. Cheers. I know Ted Danson, of course. I know he posted something really sweet as well in tribute to him. So yeah, and also Woody Harrelson when he joined the show after Nick Castellanos passed away about a few months before. He helped him relax a little bit. This was his first big TV gig too, so he helped a lot of folks, kind of find the confidence in their in their craft. So that's why he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, you need to have someone that's going to believe in you, push you over to come out of your shell and believe in yourself. And he was one of those guys that did it. So, like you said, rest in peace to him and peace and love to him and his family. So those kind of guys should not go unnoticed. They should be recognized and given this proper due.
All right, so we're going to keep you guys laughing here for the second part of Old School TV Monday. Sid, take it.
All right, we will salute for this week's edition of Old School TV Monday, the early mid-2000s TV family sitcom According to Jim. That's right, it was an American sitcom television series that starred Chicago's very own Jim Belushi in the title role as a suburban father of 3 children, then 5, starting with the seventh season finale. It originally ran on ABC from October 3rd, 2001 until June 2nd of 2009. Jim was a happy-go-lucky suburban father. Much like his real-life counterpart, Jim's character is a fan of blues music as well as all the Chicago sports teams, the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and the Cubs. Together with his wife, Cheryl, they have 3 children, daughters Ruby and Gracie and son Kyle. In the 7th season, they become parents of twin boys, Gordon and Jonathan. Jim often finds himself in difficult situations because his slacker sensibilities cause him to search for alternative ways to get things done with less effort. Jim is very cheap, selfish, rude, and arrogant. Cheryl's brother Andy is Jim's best friend / brother-in-law, and her sister Dana frequently teams up with Cheryl against him. He also prefers to lie to Cheryl and Dana to do his own activities, but they always end up backfiring on him. He hates losing to women, especially if Cheryl or Dana finds out. He doesn't like people interrupting him when he talks, so he speaks over them to shut them up. Jim often makes an example of Andy, who's, for most of the series, does not have a steady girlfriend. Dana and Jim constantly argue, but Dana flirts with Jim when she's drunk, discovering after one such event that she respects him as a loving father despite his flaws.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those shows that it didn't mean that. Look, I mean, they didn't really do a lot of issue oriented show. It was just meant to being the show that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a funny series. I know some people say, well, they like the way how he treated Cheryl. Of course, Cheryl was a stay at home mom, and he would always insult her, blah blah blah. But I would implore folks to go back to some of those 50s sitcoms. Just saying. I mean,
They did the same thing. Yep.
yeah, now look, could a format like this, a show like this, could work in today's time? Of course not. But again, this is like you said, this was the early mid-aughts. People were in transition. You didn't have a lot of stay-at-home dads at the time. So look, I thought it was funny. I thought it was clever, and look, it was a great multi-camera sitcom that I think it's very missing a lot of networks of sitcoms nowadays. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of how I feel about it, especially as far as this show is concerned.
Yeah, we know everything's about streaming now, and even though things improve through time, like I said, some of the old elements are missing. And you go out chasing trends, you get caught in the back burner. So unfortunately, that's what happens with TV, and that's what's happening now. But other guest stars who appeared on the show throughout its 8 seasons on the air: Dan Aykroyd, Kathleen Noon, Cynthia Stevenson, Chris Elliott, Brad Paisley, Jennifer Coolidge, their name rings a bell to some of you folks. Brian Urlacher, yes, that Brian Urlacher as himself in season 1, along with Mike Ditka as himself in season 2. Bo Diddley, Jack Coleman, Wayne Newton, Jane Lynch, fellow Chicago in season 3. Tom Bergeron, yes, that Dancing with the Stars, Tom Bergeron, yes, he played himself in season 3. The late great James Earl Jones. Dave Coulier, yes, that one from Full House, yes, that's him. Tom Arnold, Hugh Hefner, Barry Williams, and Tim Meadows. Yes, that Tim Meadows from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, a lot of this SNL connection. So, like you said, you just mentioned with Dan Aykroyd and Lorraine Newman, Tim Meadows, of course, Cynthia Stevenson as well. The episodes with her and Tim Batch, who played they played the Devlins. Those are some of my favorite episodes.
Yes.
Oh my God, those are hilarious. Also, Jim's real life son Robert appeared in a lot of the episodes after the first, the rest throughout the run. Of course, he played grown up Kyle. Yes. Lee Majors played God a couple of episodes in the later seasons. Also, James Lipton, who of course you guys were referring to the Inside Actor Studio, played the devil in one of the later season 7. So yeah, it had a lot of great guest stars. 182 episodes. I didn't know. I know it was that many episodes. And I don't know about you, but that's longer than a lot of some of the
I didn't either.
Yeah, that was longer than a lot of the well-known sitcoms. So that's a hell of a run. So if you have a Samsung device, whether it's a smart TV, a smartphone, or even a laptop, you got Samsung TV Plus, and there actually is a channel with According to Jim with all the episodes. So you guys should check those episodes out on that channel. So just According to Jim is right there.
Yeah, and also you can watch a whole lot of those full episodes on YouTube as well. Just type in According to Jim full episodes. A couple of fun facts before we close up shop. Besides playing himself, talking about Jim Belushi, he directed 30 episodes in his credit as an executive producer. And as far as awards were concerned, let me see if I can get it up here real quick. According to Jim, was nominated for 20 awards, including 4 Primetime Emmy Awards, all for cinematography.
Yeah, it was very well shot. And look, I mean, Cody Thorne said people forget she came from sitcoms. Remember, she wasn't. I know Melrose Place was the one that got her, made her household name, but people forget she came from sitcoms. Kimberly Willis Paisley, she's now on Nashville. The 911 Nashville spinoff. Larry Joe Campbell's done a lot of directing. Since According to Jim, you see he's directed a lot of, and also did a lot of voiceover work too. So no really what happened to the kids. I guess the kids kind of just like went with their normal lives. But I know Jim and Courtney, I think were neighbors for many years. I don't know. I know Courtney. I know she's divorced from the husband that they were living with at the time. But yeah, they stay very close. So that's good to hear. But yeah, one of my favorite definitely one of my favorite sitcoms. It's definitely up there on the more underrated sitcoms. But yeah, I thought it was really good. So make sure you guys check out the repeats on YouTube and on Samsung TV Plus whenever you can.
All right, so for this week's edition of Old School TV Monday, we salute the mid-2000s ABC TV family sitcom According to Jim. LaKeena, take us home.
You follow McGee on the Twitter, X, on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CKid80. Once again, it's CKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you missed an interview that we did, or if we missed a segment, don't worry. Or if you go in the season when we pick our NFL games, don't worry. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channels. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smo Fellas, and all the other great content. Catch the replays anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook, YouTube channels, and on the app.
And you know we will provide.
And okay, so enjoy the rest of the group play in the World Men's World Cup. Also, too, if you're into college baseball, they will crown a champion tonight. OU and North Carolina. This is the winner take all. It'll be at 6 o'clock on ESPN in Omaha. So make sure you guys check that out, as well as a champion will be crowned. So yeah, so enjoy the baseball, enjoy the NBA draft. And so much more great sports. So for Sid, Sid's over here. See, I did that too. Sid's over here. Okay, I'm LaKeena, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys Friday.
Go Sox, holla!